All right, let's get right into this. Imagine a man living a shocking double life for 3 whole decades. To his neighbors, he was the pillar of the community. But in secret, he was a monster who was terrorizing the city of Wichita, Kansas. This is the absolutely chilling story of Dennis Rader, the man who called himself BTK.
And this really just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the public Dennis Rader, a church president, a husband and father, a city compliance officer. I mean, a guy you would know and probably trust. And then on the other side, you see the horrific reality, a sadistic killer, a methodical predator who actually taunted the police. The question that just haunted everyone was, how could these two people possibly be one and the same?
So, to even begin to understand how this was possible, we've got to explore the man behind that infamous name, the one that gripped an entire community in fear. Rader actually gave himself the name BTK, and it wasn't just some random set of letters. It was his brutal signature. It stands for bind, torture, kill, the horrifying 3-step process he followed with his victims. Just hearing that name sent a wave of terror through the public. What makes his case so deeply disturbing wasn't only the violence itself, it was his calculated, almost business-like approach to murder. This methodical nature, this chilling behavior is what really set him apart and made him one of the most infamous serial killers in American history. So, the big question is, how on earth did he get away with it for so long? Well, he did it by meticulously, carefully building a mask of complete and utter normalcy. I mean, just look at this list. It reads like the resume of a totally ordinary guy. He was born and raised in the very community he would one day terrorize. He served his country in the Air Force, got married, had kids, held a steady government job, and he was so respected he was even elected president of his church council. It is a terrifying example of what psychologists call the mask of sanity, the ability some psychopaths have to perfectly mimic normal human emotions and behavior. He was hiding in the most obvious place you can imagine, just plain sight. But of course, underneath this perfect exterior, the darkness was always there. Even from a young age, Rader showed some classic warning signs. Cruelty to animals, violent fantasies. These were the cracks in the facade, but they were hidden from absolutely everyone he knew. And with that mask locked firmly in place, he began a reign of terror that would go on for decades. This timeline really shows you the sheer scope of his activity. It all started in 1974 with the horrific murder of the Otero family. For the next 17 years, he just kept going, attacking people and taunting the police and media. Then, in 1991, he just stopped. BTK went silent. The case went cold for over a decade, leaving everyone wondering if he was dead, in prison, or had just vanished into thin air. Now, this is where it gets just bone-chilling. Rader didn't see his crimes as spontaneous acts of violence. He called them projects. This wasn't random chaos. It was a fantasy-driven process. He would stalk his victims for weeks, learn their daily routines, and plan every single detail. This methodical approach is exactly why he was so difficult to catch. So after 13 years of silence, what finally brought him down? In a word, ego. His own arrogance and, believe it or not, a piece of outdated technology would become his complete undoing. So here's how he finally got caught. In 2004, Rader just couldn't resist the spotlight any longer, so he popped back up. He actually asked police a critical question. Could he send them a floppy disk without being traced? Now the police, they played this brilliantly. They told him, yeah, sure, it's safe. Confident he'd outsmarted them, Rader sent the disk. But he missed one tiny, tiny detail. A digital fingerprint, called metadata, was still on a deleted file. And it pointed directly to a user named Dennis at the Christ Lutheran Church. And just like that, the game was over. On February 25, 2005, Dennis Rader, the church president, the husband, the father, was arrested. After 30 long years, the terrifying mystery of the BTK killer was finally solved. But Rader's arrest wasn't really the end of the story. The way he confessed and the legacy he left behind are almost as unsettling as his crimes. When they brought him in for questioning, Rader didn't break down. He didn't show an ounce of remorse. Instead, he confessed to every single murder with this calm, clinical detachment that absolutely stunned seasoned investigators. He talked about his projects like he was discussing a day at the office, revealing the true monster that had been hiding behind that mask all along. The justice system delivered its verdict, and it was definitive. For the 10 lives he destroyed, Dennis Rader received 10 consecutive life sentences. This ensures that the man who terrorized a city for decades will spend the rest of his natural life behind bars. But this number, this is maybe the most haunting one of all. 30. For 30 years, a sadistic serial killer was living right there amongst his neighbors, raising a family, leading a church. 3 decades of absolute terrifying deception. So what's the ultimate takeaway from this whole chilling story? It's a horrifying reminder that evil doesn't always advertise itself. It can hide behind the most normal, the most unassuming, even the most trusted faces. Sometimes the monsters truly don't look like monsters at all. And that leaves us all with a deeply unsettling question. One that the story of the BTK killer really forces us to think about. How well do we really, truly know the people around us?